Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. Today, Al Bina from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum stops by for an update. There's a lot going on at the museum this month. We'll learn all about it. First, though, as always, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, it's beautiful, brilliant sunshine out there. It's 55 degrees right now. Going to be a gorgeous day today. Lots of sunshine and pretty mild, too. Temperatures will climb into the mid to upper 60s this afternoon. Not as cold tonight under clear skies. Lows will drop off into the mid 50s and not a bad weekend coming up tomorrow. Definitely is the better of the 2 days with sunshine. A little breezy tomorrow, but still mild with highs in the upper 60s. Cool night tomorrow night. On Sunday, we've got some clouds around. I think the rain will hold off for most of the day, moving in later in the afternoon. Definitely by Sunday night it'll be raining. It'll be cooler with highs Sunday only into the mid 50s, and the holiday Columbus Day on Monday looks a little cool and damp with off and on showers at a high around 60 degrees. So enjoy right now. Sunshine, 55 in Quincy. Checking out the news for you today, the Quincy City Council has voted to rezone the current MBTA bus garage property on Hancock Street over to open space once the T moves into their new garage that they're building on the Bergen Parkway. City Council this week voted in favor of the rezoning that was proposed by Ward 5 Councilor Dan Minton. A mayoral spokesman, Chris Walker, says the long-term plan is to perhaps create some type of indoor sports complex at that site. However, the city has to acquire the property first.
The mayor has mentioned some initial thoughts on what could take place at the former bus depot. But that's really the last of the three steps. First, we need to rezone the property. Then will come acquisition from the state and the MBTA, and then the reuse. As I noted, the key element that we know right now is community use. The key concept is community use that ties the property into the existing facilities in some way. Beyond that, there will be a substantive community process and engagement with all potential stakeholders. The opportunities are very exciting, but again, excuse me, first things first. We do have a little time, as the T is expected to occupy the new facility on Bergen Parkway in 2027. And that also makes it now the perfect time to begin this process, rezone the property, and capture that opportunity before it's too late.
With that rezoning, city officials hope that the T will transfer the property to the city when it moves into their new garage in 2027. City officials acknowledge that site will need to be cleaned up after being used as a garage for some 50 years. Plans for the new Squantum Elementary School are moving forward. Quincy Public Buildings Commissioner Paul Hines told the City Council this week that a Quincy-based construction company will be building the new school.
Squantum School Building Authority did vote to grant the construction manager at risk contract to Lee Kennedy and Company of Quincy. We had 9 people submit and 7 came in for interviews. They were fantastic. Very, very strong pool of candidates. Lee Kennedy rose to the top. They were almost $2 million in fees higher than the next 2 candidates. And through negotiations with them and Brian LaRoche of PCA 360R OPM, we got them to come down $1.9 million in their fees. So they are quite anxious to do this job, and we're quite anxious to have them.
Lee Kennedy Construction is expected to begin construction on the new school next August. This week, the City Council did approve $1.8 million up front for preliminary work for the new school. Councilors also learned the total cost of the new Squantum School will be $109 million. A portion of that will be reimbursed by the state. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says that he would use eminent domain if necessary to prevent any large new developments on the campus of Eastern Nazarene College. Koch says he is in discussions with the college president about the future of that 21-acre campus when the school closes at the end of the year. Koch says he sees many potential future uses for the property that could benefit the city.
You know, I think that there's some great potential down there at that property. For example, the field and the gymnasium could fit nicely in with our needs as a city. The library perhaps could be a great asset to the city. Perhaps Quincy College could use, a portion of the campus. And then I've talked a lot about 55 and over. I think there's room to do a nice 55 and over, not overly dense, but something that will fit into that neighborhood and not be overbearing. And that's the message I've been sending them is, you're going to be romanced by these big-time real estate brokers who are going to suggest you can do this and that. And it's really restrictive. It's in a residential area. There's floodplain issues. So there's some real challenges there that affect the value. So if I need to, I certainly am willing to use the eminent domain tool with the city council to make sure that we're getting what we want as a city there and not something that would be detrimental to the neighborhood.
Koch has proposed rezoning the property to allow for 55 and over housing for Quincy residents. The planning board will be reviewing that proposal next Wednesday. ENC is closing at the end of the year after 124 years in Quincy. Early voting for the November 5th election starts a week from tomorrow here in Quincy. The first weekend of early voting will be held at the Central Middle School, October 19th and 20th. Early voting will then be held at Quincy City Hall until November 1st. And Saturday, October 26th is the last day to register to vote in the November 5th election. October 29th, that's the last day to request a mail-in ballot. City Clerk Nicole Crispo says her office has already sent out over 14,000 mail-in ballots.
Over getting those 14,000 ballots to the post office, getting them turned over, and hopefully out to the residents as soon as possible. And we're working daily on the new requests we get in, and we're turning those right over and getting those right out as well. So there is a deadline for that to receive in a vote by mail ballot. The deadline for that is October 29th. So if you wish to get a ballot by mail, you can certainly go on to our website, quincyma.gov, and elections, and there's a link there right to request it by mail, or you can send in that card that Secretary Galvin put out a couple weeks ago. We're still taking those in, of course.
Now, in-person voting, of course, will take place on November 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at all 31 precincts in Quincy. Crispo is predicting a voter turnout of anywhere from 72 to 80%. Quincy companies that produce hazardous chemicals will now be required to notify the city about those chemicals under a new ordinance that was approved this week. Quincy Emergency Management Director Ali Sleeman says there is no statewide regulation regarding hazardous chemicals notifications, so cities and towns are taking action on their own.
Law, the EPCRA law, the 1986 law states that they have 30 days, within 30 days, to report any significant changes in quantities on hand to the state. No, because they're supposed to report that to the state as well, and we don't get notified. So this would notify us locally if there was a significant change of oil, gasoline, hazardous chemicals in any of the facilities in the city. And if they didn't report the chemicals on hand and the changes within 30 days, we could fine them.
Okay.
Or shut them down.
New regulation also allows for city officials to inspect companies that produce or store hazardous materials to ensure they're being used properly. The regulation also imposes fines for companies that don't comply with the new mandate. Well, a team of teachers and staff from the Clifford Marshall Elementary School here in Quincy are celebrating after raising over $50,000 in last week's annual Jimmy Fund Walk in memory of two members of the school community who died of cancer. Christine Fiander was a second-grade teacher who died last December. And Boston firefighter and Marine Corps veteran Matthew Troy died this past June. Troy's mother, Desiree, is a kindergarten teacher at the Clifford Marshall School. Team Mighty Marshall is still accepting donations through the Jimmy Fund for Cancer Research at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. That is our check of news for you today. Coming up, Al Bina from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum joins us for an update. That's next. Welcome back. October is always a very busy month at the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum because October is International Archaeology Month. Here in Quincy, though, we call it Quincy Archaeology Month, and Al Bina from the museum is here once again to tell us all about it. Good to see you, Al, as always.
Great to be here, Joe. You know, it's always great to be on here with you.
Yeah, we love having you, too, and I always
Well,
learn
thank
something
you.
new every time you're here, for sure. How old is the museum now?
Well, we're going on about 12 years
Wow,
now. We
okay.
started about 12 years ago, very small, just collecting some artifacts and some pictures. And eventually we moved up to the Lions Churning Mill up on Quarry Hills Drive.
Yeah.
And it's the old Lions Churning Mill building. We've actually established a couple of new little buildings where we have our artifacts. So we're slowly gaining momentum, even after 12 years,
Yeah.
to display a lot of these artifacts that we've got.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
great. How long have you been in those buildings, in that location there, as an actual physical museum?
About 6 years ago, we actually built the first little building. And then this last year, we added another little building.
Yeah, like a kind of a function room, basically.
It's another
right?
function room,
Yeah.
and also in this function room, we have a geologist display. It's a great geology display showing the different granites, where they came from, how they got here. It's a very little interesting geology presentation in this new little building we
Yep.
have,
Well, it's just a different part of the history of the city, for sure. The granite industry it was a leader worldwide, really,
Yeah.
at one point.
At the turn of the century, it was the largest employer in the city of Quincy here back at the turn of the
Sure.
century in the early 1900s. Again, it was a big part of the history of Quincy here.
Absolutely, yep. And you can still see signs of it all across the city, for sure. And all
Well,
the buildings
you
and-
look at all the foundations,
Yep.
all the walls. You see Quincy granite all over Quincy.
So as I mentioned, October is International Archaeology Month, right? But you kind of bring that home here in Quincy.
We kind of bring it
Yeah.
home here in Quincy. Originally, the state used to sponsor the International Archaeology Day. After COVID hit, they kind of dropped the ball. But we, as the Quarry Museum, we kind of picked it up here in Quincy, and we call it International Archaeology Day in Quincy,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts this weekend, right? Got some
Starts this
things going
weekend,
on.
this
Yeah.
coming weekend, yeah.
What's happening?
We're going to be open for the archaeology weekend, 11 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday, and then the following following Sunday, we're going to have stone splitting. It's a new. We haven't really publicized that yet, but we're
Okay.
going to be putting that out. We actually let people put feather wedges in the stone. We pre-drill the stones. We let them put the feather wedges in there and actually split granite themselves.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a nice, busy weekend for us. The only thing we got to hope for is good weather.
So that'll be October 20th, I see. We put
October
the
20th,
message
yeah.
up for you there at 11 o'clock. Just stop by and grab a hammer
Right.
and have at it.
Have it. 19th is Archaeology Day. We're open, and then the 20th stone splitting. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be a busy weekend for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Are you open every weekend now, or is it just by
We're
request?
open the first weekend of every month
Okay.
through November.
Okay.
But like I always tell people, we're open pretty near all the time. Just give us a call if you want to bring a special group in or an individual, yourself want to come in. Give us a call. We'll have one of our members go up there and give you a little tour and open the museum
Yeah.
and the Churning Mill also.
Yes. Yeah. it's
So we're
well-
kind of
well
open
worth
on
it.
request.
Okay. All right. Through your email or phone number or
Yep,
website.
to our email, phone number. Yeah.
Now, as always, you brought a bunch of pictures with you
And we
today.
brought some pictures.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's kind of new at the Churning Mill in the museum?
I loved seeing these because they're always new. Do you take these just for this show, Al? But these are great. They give folks a kind of a nice behind-the-scenes look.
This is the actual new display we have in the museum now. It's featuring John Horrigan, the sculptor who sculpted many sculptures from his studio here in Quincy on Federal Avenue. But this was the Titanic statue that he was really known for. It was a huge statue for the memory of the men that gave their lives on the Titanic.
Really?
And,
Where's the statue now?
It's down in Washington. It's on the Potomac River down in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a great display of him, and we're actually showing his tools, the
see
tools that
that.
he actually used to actually sculpt the model.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very good. So those were left here in Quincy, and you were able to
Well,
acquire them?
quick little story.
Yeah.
John Horrigan, he was a sculptor. He had a son, Gerald Horrigan, who, again, was a sculptor here in Quincy. when Gerald Horrigan went into the nursing home, he passed all his tools on to Reno Pisano, who was an apprentice of his.
Oh,
And Reno Pisano just passed away at the age of 100.
wow, okay.
So about 4 years ago, when Reno knew we had a museum, he
Yeah.
called us and he said, "Gee, I got his tools that he actually sculpted the Titanic statue. Would
Wow.
you be?" We said, "My God, we'd love them." you
Wow,
know.
yeah.
So it's amazing to have them actual physical things that they actually sculpted the Titanic statue with. You know. And
fantastic.
That was the display the new display in the museum now.
Okay,
One of the new displays.
Excellent. So, I mean, those would have been lost had you not had the museum. That must be very fulfilling for you to hear
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Yeah, would have been lost to history.
Check up the next one here.
Next one here's here to talk about archaeology. Quick little story about what you're looking at here is all artifacts that were actually found around the turning mill. We can't do any digging at the turning mill because it's on a national register, it's on a historical Massachusetts register. So
Yeah.
you got to be an archaeologist to dig. But all we did is clean the surface, rake those leaves that have been there for years and years and years, and look at the artifacts that have actually appeared just on the surface.
Is that right?
After a cleaning, yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. You know, I tell people, if you had a metal detector and you went around this whole museum and turning mill area,
Yeah.
it would be going off constantly
bet.
because there's so much metal under the ground here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was just abandoned. Right?
Abandoned,
They
yeah.
left. They went to work one day and closed the shop and
Left
didn't
it
take
there.
anything with them.
Right, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the metal static display we just formed at the museum. We actually put these 3 or 4. There was actually 4 actual quarry drills that
see
they
that.
would have used to quarry the stone. We actually embedded it in a stone that's right, basically at our what I call our staging area.
Okay.
You know, so people can actually see the 4 different types of pneumatic tools that they actually quarried the granite with.
Yes. Would these have been? How would these have been powered? Al?
They would have been powered pneumatically by air.
By air.
By air, yeah.
Okay.
They also had huge steam drills that they drill in the quarry themselves for the blasting holes. These
Yes.
were huge steam drills, but these were all driven by pneumatic, by air.
Okay. And how did you acquire these?
These are, again, were all donated
Just
to
donated,
us. Donated to us, yeah.
Yeah.
By some of the different stone sheds after they closed here in Quincy. They called us and they wanted to know if we wanted some of their artifacts that they had before they sent them to the scrap pile. you know,
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Again, would have been lost. Right?
Would have been lost forever, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Next one, yeah, we added some seating around the turning mill.
I see that.
You know, we have a lot of older people that like to come and visit, and so we created a little area there that they could sit around and just talk. We'd love to have people just sit there and talk about their experiences or their grandparents' experience or things that they can remember about the quarrying, about the granite industry.
Yes.
And in fact, we've had some 3 or 4. We've only had it about 2 months now, and in the 2 months, each month, people have gone over there and actually sat and talked a bit.
Yeah. Actually, the next picture will show that. Folks sitting.
I think maybe.
enjoying- yeah.
There you go. There's 3 women that they didn't know each other. They just sat. They had something in common in granite.
Yes.
You know, their
Some
relatives
connection.
had worked in the granite industry.
Perhaps at that turning mill.
Possibly at
Yeah.
the turning mill. Yeah.
Okay.
So we added these little seatings around there, which will make it nice. And sometimes if you just like to sit in the shaded area, it's great. You know.
Very nice.
So it's kind of like we're turning into a little outdoor museum park too,
Yeah, well,
in a way.
Yeah, kind of a destination.
Destination,
where
yeah.
not just go and tour and leave, but
You could just sit
stay
and,
and talk and
Right.
socialize a little bit, like a bench by the
A bench
by the river.
this is bench by the quarry. This is another we just added this month here.
Okay.
These were 4 benches that quarry links they didn't use anymore.
Oh, granite links.
Granite links.
Oh, okay.
I asked them. I said, "Gee, you're not using them anymore. You just got them over there in the up against the fence." I said, "You're going to use them?" They said, "We're not going to use these anymore." I said, "Well, could we have them?" They said, "Well, you're welcome to them."
Ah.
So we got 4 of these benches now that we've placed around the turning mill, so
Yeah.
people could actually just, as they're walking around, if they want to sit for a while, they can sit for a while.
Well, it looks
This
like
is-
a nice spot. Yeah.
This is kind of a great spot because it's right at the edge of the quarry.
Okay.
Well, it's not right at the edge of the quarry, but you can see it back from the quarry.
Yeah.
But once the quarry is up the level, you know, you got a lot of nature. You got Canadian geese that are in there. You've got ducks that are in there. So it's kind of, you know, as the leaves are turning now, it's a great place just to sit and kind of look at the surroundings of
Yeah.
the quarry. you
Which
know.
quarry is that now?
This is the Lions Quarry.
Lions Quarry,
Lions
okay.
Quarry, yeah.
Which is-
Which is located right at the turning mill.
Right, hence the name Lions Turning Mill.
Lions Turning Mill. Yeah.
Is that the last quarry that still has any kind of water in it?
There is only a few left in Quincy
Yeah.
that doesn't have water. This is one of them.
Okay.
There's probably only 3 of them
Is that right?
left in Quincy that hasn't been filled in.
Yeah.
You know, so we're fortunate to have this little quarry right on site.
Okay.
too.
A few more here to check
Yeah,
out.
this is another. What we've done is we added a lot of walking paths
Mm-hmm.
around the turning mill. There was a lot of tripping hazards
Oh,
with
yeah.
the rough stones that they left there, the grout that was laying around. So we've had these nice walking trails now around, and we've got interpretive information on all the different sites of the machinery, or the different sites, the historic sites that are around the mill, like the blacksmith shop. You can actually see the remnants of the blacksmith shop on the ground,
Wow.
some actually metal that's laying there, plus the fire bricks and the bricks. So we know there was a blacksmith shop in that location.
Okay.
So now we got interpretive information that explains that as you're walking around. And we eliminated all the tripping hazards.
Very
We
good.
made some nice walking paths
Yeah, the
around.
nice crushed stone there
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier to get
Right.
around, right?
Yeah.
Especially for folks who may be impaired, mobilely
Sure.
impaired. Yeah.
And again, this is another site along the walking path. This is the blacksmith shop that you can actually see remnants. Again, we'd like to have an archaeological dig at this site
Right.
eventually, but you can see the actual artifacts that are actually on the ground just after a cleanup.
See that under the tree there?
Under
right?
the tree.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Oak trees have a tendency to grow where the ash was from the
Really?
forges of the granite.
Good fertilizer for them?
Must be good fertilizer because oak trees always grow where there was a blacksmith shop.
Interesting. What would it take to get an archaeological dig? You know, what would actually have to happen?
Well, you have to. We approached, I think, Boston University last year, and they were interested in it, but it never proceeded on beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to contact them again to see if they'd like to get them students back in here again.
Okay.
You know, these archaeological digs, I like to go to the Egypt, the Middle East, but I mean, there's so much conflict over there. I think now that we're more than willing to do some basic archaeological digs locally.
Yeah.
You know,
Would it require some funding, do you know? Or
it'll
just-
require a little funding.
It
Yeah.
would, yeah.
We'll try to raise some funding to get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep chipping away at that, Al.
Keep chipping away at it. Keep chipping away
I think we
at
have one last, yeah.
it. Yeah, this is interesting. In South Quincy, Minardi's Block.
Yeah, I remember the old South Quincy Italian festivals
it was
down
right
there.
at Minardi's Block,
Yeah.
right. And it was a building that was being torn down. It's torn down right now. And the mayor had saved all the granite from this building here. And you can see the big sign over the opening. It
Yep.
was a big granite block with raised letters carved in the granite block. Along with, there was about 8 to 10 these pink columns that were around the building.
Mm-hmm.
The mayor has agreed now to give us that sign that's over the door opening there, plus 2 of the polished pink granite columns. So
Nice.
we'll be adding those artifacts basically with the little history that went along with this Minardi's Block.
Oh, okay. All right. This could make a great gateway to the museum, Al.
Oh, well, yeah.
just thinking out
thinking,
loud.
yeah.
What was that building in the years past? Do you know?
There was multiple of stores in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
In South Quincy.
Where exactly
But
was it?
it was right on
Was it on Liberty Street?
Right on Liberty
Yeah,
Street.
I
Right
thought
on,
so.
Yeah, right on Liberty Street.
Okay.
Originally, this Angelo Minardi, he had his office there, one of his main offices, because he actually owned a stone shed right on Liberty Street,
okay.
down a ways.
Yes. Yes.
And
Okay.
he built this block of building, and he put these polished granite columns.
I mean, I'm sure it was beautiful in the day. Yeah.
In fact, he owned the quarry in Lyme, Connecticut. He owned the quarry where these columns, they came from his own quarry
I was
in
going
Lyme,
to say because they're
Connecticut.
not Quincy granite.
They're not Quincy granite.
No.
They're a pink lime granite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Quincy is the Quincy dark,
Quincy
right? is
dark.
What
Yeah.
they call
Quincy
it.
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, do you know what you'll do with those once you get them?
Well, we're going to display them. We're
Yeah,
going to display.
obviously, yeah.
We're going to display the actual raised block, the name, with Minardi's Block on it, which was really, when you stop to think of it, to cut that block, it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because they had to remove so much granite to form those letters.
Right.
So we'll tell the history of how that was actually manufactured.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's quite a feather in the cap for the
Yeah.
museum. Yeah. But short term, come out on October 19th and 20th, right?
19th and 20th, we'll be there from 11 to 3. Stone splitting will start right about at 11 o'clock
On the 20th.
on the 20th.
Okay.
Yep.
Always a pleasure, Al.
Joe, it's always a pleasure here. You know it is. We love to come here with you.
Go ahead. Throw one in there.
We're chipping away at it, but don't take it for granted.
Thanks a lot, Al.
My pleasure, Joe.
Always my pleasure. Thank you. Check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. It looks really nice. Lots of sunshine and mild temperatures climbing up into the upper 60s this afternoon. Down to the mid-50s this evening. Nice day tomorrow. It'll be windier, but it'll be warmer tomorrow with sunshine. Highs near 70. The rain should hold off hopefully until later Sunday night. Cooler, mid-50s on Sunday, and kind of cool and damp on Monday with a high in the mid-50s. Thanks again to Al Bina for joining us from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Speaking of Monday, we're off for the Columbus Day holiday. Join us next Friday. Ray T-Burge talks to us about all things scouting here in Quincy. Meantime, check our website. It's qatv.org. All of our latest programs are there. There's news, information, video on demand, live streaming, and a whole lot more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great weekend.